Anastasia, Abinandate. Hello, human. Hail. Mama. Kara Purtana Yuga. Vididama Mahaka Krevartin Vanika. Pratata Mukhajiva. I'm a phantom. Oh, Samasi. I'm a phantom with a face of a human. Who's the fair man out of fair like beings from the second age of legends. Whoa, that's neat. Alright, so we started with the first age, Death Sun. That's a good story. It's sad. It's pretty. Not really a lot of conflict, though. The second one. Not really a lot of conflict either. I mean, we didn't even have our Prince Humperdinck. Now, admittedly, couldn't really get into it without, like, kind of sort of ripping stuff off. Because, like, there's the whole, like, cycle between those two stories being sort of one story, but also not. So, luckily for you all, because a lot of people just, like, they can't get into a story unless there's conflict. Well then, I got one for you. Treti Yuga, Savarna Yuga. Third Age, Golden Age. Or it was. And then there was the Arinamata, Vasra, Vivarasa Namata. And that is the Bane namer against the Heaven Slave namer, or name giver. So there was a Bane name giver, and there was a Heaven Slave name giver. So basically, there's a lot of power to Ava. Like, there's just a lot of power to being able to name stuff magically. It just is. And most people actually kind of conceptually understand this. The problem is the one person who conceptually understood it and always used it in the most, like, self-interested, selfish ways. The Arinamata, the Bane name giver. And so basically what this thing did is it basically used the fact it knew naming was a thing. It basically named itself a god. And it kind of, like, managed to convince a lot of people through, like, bewitching and stuff that it was one, mainly because it stole names of existing gods and named itself those things. So basically, it was running around naming itself, like, various kinds of gods. And so then there came about, like, and it was just a Jiva. Now, here's the thing. This might remind a lot of you, like, at some point, of the Ellie Modest series name. The Imager portfolio, etc. And there was this, like, basically devil figure called the Namer. That was opposed to the god of that world, which was called the Nameless. Now, essentially, like, imagine the world if we couldn't have a name for any of the gods because of one idiot naming itself the god by taking the names of all of the other, like, all the gods that were. That's essentially what was going on, in theory at least, during the Third Yuga. Is, like, there was this one idiot running around, naming itself after the names of all of the gods, So, like, literally none of the gods could even talk to each other, because they would all end up talking to this one idiot human. So then so essentially, like, they could only refer to God, like, all of the gods, like, all of Paratman, all of the higher soul, as the nameless, because of this one idiot Namada name giver. And so basically, like, then the Devadasa Namada, or the Heaven Slave name giver, came along and was like, no, 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 no. And they finally tracked this idiot down, and they renamed him, honestly, just a bunch of slurs. Like Zapatha, like Anathema, that sort of thing. And more or less just made it abundantly clear it wasn't a god. It was just one dude. The problem with this was, this thing was an Amada, and it gave such like a bad reputation, like a Pita Uma Namada, like a bad reputation for name givers, that even though the Devadasa Namada eventually tracked this dude down, it had first of all generated a ton of extra names for everything. Like, imagine this bottle of ink, right? This bottle of ink. It's Dove's Blood ink. Comes from a specific company. Has a black cap, glass, plastic. Don't really need a lot more detail, do you? Don't. According to the Autonamata, this thing's full name would have had to have been literally every part of this. Because that was part of the Autonamata's deal. It tried to rename every step of everything to try to get people so confused in extra steps during supplications, during worship, especially in terms of like directly addressing their god, that it just like made a point of blocking up the bhakti marga, all the faith pathways. And so that's part of why the Devadasa Namada came around. Like, basically he came around and he like reset it, so all the gods were named the gods again. That one idiot labeled as a human forever. And while the problem ended, it kind of ended up screwing the Devadasa Namada, because the Adi Namada gave such a bad reputation to Uma Namada of the reputation of name it, or name giver, the reputation of name givers and all. Like, it gave such a bad Uma Abba, a bad reputation to Abba, that basically the core concept of being a namer became likened unto being a devil. And that's kind of how things happened in the that core concept appeared, at least in theory, at least in my theory right now. That's some dude from the Second Age. That, that's essentially where literally actually the namer came from. In the Only Monosid series. Yes. I'm a dude from the Second Yuga. I have a theory about a book series in this Yuga. Please don't fight me about it. There's a screen there. And I don't feel like dueling fisticuffs. So, third Yuga closes. Devadasa's job's done, for the most part. Not entirely sure where that idiot Adi Namada went. Fortunately, probably going to see that idiot in the next Yuga, because that's just how Punorch non-Karya is, but still. Anyway. Yuga closes. We have all these extra names for people, for stuff, for places, for things. And we have a general problem against naming, but that might actually also be a problem down the road. Because it's supposed to keep us from having too many more names, like, added on. But do we? Do we actually have that problem? As in, do we ever even realize that the Automata wanted us to keep adding more and more names for stuff that already exists? That was actually the problem with that. When it became the devil that everyone was convinced didn't exist, it still got to keep doing its Namada work. That comes up to be a problem later, but we still have the fourth Yuga, so GTFN.